The mind is terrifying. We were talking about how the infinite possibility of fun, but
Mm.
like it's the infinite
Yeah.
possibility of suffering too, which is one of the dangers of like expansion of the human mind. It's like I wonder if all the possible human experiences that an intelligent computer can have, is it mostly fun or is it mostly suffering? So like if you brute force expand
Mm.
the, the set of possibilities, like are you going to run into some trouble in terms of like
Mm.
torture and suffering and so on? Maybe our human brain is just protecting us from much more possible pain and suffering. Maybe the space of pain is like much larger than we could possibly
Yeah.
imagine. And that,
The world's in a balance. All the literature on religion and stuff is, the struggle between good and evil is balanced very finely tuned for reasons that are complicated. But that's a long philosophical conversation.
speaking of balance, that's complicated. I wonder because we're living through one of the more important moments in human history with this particular virus. It seems like pandemics have at least the ability to kill off most of the human population at their worst.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just fascinating because there's so many viruses in this world. There's so many. I mean, viruses basically run the world in the sense that they've been around a very long time. They're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be extremely powerful in a distributed kind of way, but at the same time, they're not intelligent and they're not even living. Do you have like high level thoughts about this virus that, like in terms of you being fascinated or
Well,
terrified or
no, no.
somewhere in between?
So I believe in frameworks, right? So, like, one of them is the evolution.
Uh-huh.
Like, we're evolved creatures, right?
Yes.
And one of the things about evolution is it's hyper competitive. And it's not competitive out of a sense of evil. It's competitive in a sense of there's endless variation, and variations that work better win. And then over time, there's so many levels of that competition. Like multicellular life partly exists because of the competition between different kinds of life forms. And we know sex partly exists to scramble our genes so that we have genetic variation against the invasion of the bacteria and the viruses, and it's endless. Like, I read some funny statistic, like the density of viruses and bacteria in the ocean is really high, and 1/3 of the bacteria die every day because of viruses invading them. Like
So,
1/3 of them.
wow.
Like I don't know if that number is true, but it was like
This,
it's like there's like the amount of competition and what's going on is stunning. And there's a theory as we age, we slowly accumulate bacteria and viruses, and as our immune system kind of goes down, that's what slowly kills us. And
it just feels so peaceful from a human perspective when we sit back and are able to have a relaxed conversation.
yeah,
And there's wars going on
yeah,
out
yeah.
there.
Like right now, you harboring how many bacteria, and
Ugh,
the ones. Many of them are parasites on you, and
yeah.
some of them are helpful, and some of them are modifying your behavior, and some of them are, it's really wild. But this particular manifestation is unusual, in the demographic how it hit, and the political
Right.
response that it engendered, and the healthcare response it engendered, and the technology it engendered. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, the
But
communication on Twitter that it led
every
to,
level.
all that kind of stuff at every single level. Yeah,
But what usually kills life, the big extinctions are caused by meteors and volcanoes.
that's the one you're worried about, as opposed to human created bombs
And,
that
and,
we
and
launch at
solar
each other.
solar flares are another good one. Occasionally solar flares hit the planet.
So it's nature.
Well,
We
it's all pretty wild.